We're back today to talk about movies, and Kitty is here to join me today. This is what I watched in the month of, what are we in? Month of May. And this month I watched a lot of movies, as I always do, but this month especially because I got COVID and had to stay quarantined for a good while. And luckily I didn't get sick that long, but I did have to stay away from people, so I watched a lot of TV, and you know, that's what you do. Go ahead and comment down below and let me know what you saw this month, and if you saw any of the same things that I did, or if you're looking forward to anything in the month of June. I actually wanted to start with Stranger Things because it just started season 4? The last season of Stranger Things just came out on Netflix, and we started watching literally the last few nights, the first few episodes, and so far it looks like it's really good. I think it's turning out to be one of the best seasons so far. The first season was the best, of course, and then the second one kind of died out for me, and then the third one was okay, but I think this one is redeeming itself to be hopefully a really good ending to the show. So let me know if you're watching it. I want to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, directed by Sam Raimi. We did see it in theaters, and I was excited to see this film, not because I'm such a Marvel Universe fan or even a Doctor Strange fan, but because I'm a fan of Sam Raimi. He directed the first Spider-Man, which I love, with Tobey Maguire, and he directed Evil Dead, and he likes horror movies, so I kind of thought this one would be very interesting since it's a Marvel film with, I heard, horror elements because of his directing style. I loved it. It was actually very good, worth seeing in theaters. I do think I give a lot of credit to Wanda for being the star of the show in this movie. I liked her in WandaVision, but I liked her even more in this movie, and I think she was such, I don't even want to say, obviously I can't say anything, but she was just such a badass in this movie that I do think she stole the show. We did watch the first Doctor Strange movie before seeing the new one in theaters because I don't even think I had seen it before. I did enjoy the horror elements in this movie. I did enjoy like where they went with it. I know some people, there's always gonna be people out there who didn't enjoy certain aspects of it, but being that I'm not a huge Marvel fan, I wasn't obviously very picky about certain things, and I just enjoyed it for what it was, and I thought it was great. The next movie I want to talk about is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers on Disney+, and this was kind of a fun surprise of a movie that I had no idea was coming out. It features Andy Samberg as the voice of Dale and John Mulaney as the voice of Chip, and it also has other comedians doing the voice of other characters, like there's Seth Rogen, Will Arnett, even J.K. Simmons is one of the voices. I was actually very happily surprised with this movie. I do think both adults and kids can enjoy this movie for different reasons. I was never a big fan of the Rescue Rangers growing up as a kid or anything, so it didn't hold so much nostalgia for me, but I love how they introduced a lot of other characters from other cartoons. They have like Peter Pan and all these other Disney cartoons that pop up throughout the whole movie. I liked how they played around with the real world, adding cartoons into that, and then also using like 3D style cartoons, whatever you want to call them. And I liked how it was like the blend of all the different worlds, and I thought it was really creative, different style of a movie, and I had a fun time watching it, so definitely recommend. Speaking of films for kids, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We got to see it thanks to Paramount Plus. We never saw it in theaters. But I have to say, I couldn't with that movie. It was so much for kids. I don't even know if adults can get anything out of it. I think the only way you could probably enjoy it as an adult is if you just like had a pure love for Sonic growing up, which I did play Sonic games and I did like Sonic, but I guess I didn't have like such a connection to Sonic. But also, I think if you have kids and your kid enjoys it, then maybe you'll enjoy it more. But I feel like two adults just watching it, the cheesiest lines ever come out of everybody's mouth in that movie. It was just, they said such dumb things the whole time, and the level of cheese in that movie is just, it's a lot. It feels like it's definitely just meant for kids. I obviously enjoyed Jim Carrey. I think that's the one redeeming thing that I can say was, I don't even know if it's worth watching because of Jim Carrey, but at least Jim Carrey's in it and I love him. But I thought it was so cheesy. That's just, Chip and Dale I felt was a good connection between adult humor and kid humor, and then Sonic the Hedgehog felt like it was just purely made for kids. That's my opinion. Let me know if you felt differently. The next movie is Ambulance, and this also came out recently. I believe it's still in theaters, but you can watch it on Peacock Premium if you have it. And it is a 2022 action crime film. Jake Gyllenhaal is in it. It's basically about two brothers who decide to rob a bank. They end up having to take an ambulance and kind of keep this EMT worker hostage while she tries to save a cop's life. And the actress who plays the EMT is so beyond gorgeous that it just reminds me who the director is. And it's Michael Bay, who directed Transformers and all that. And it just makes sense because Michael Bay loves to get these like beyond gorgeous women and then put them in like non-traditional jobs for gorgeous women to be doing. But I also think it's very obvious that this movie was his style, because if you've seen his films, he loves to do these like drone shots where they come up from above and they swoop out, and it was a lot of that, and it was kind of obnoxious. Honestly, this movie was a little obnoxious. I found it entertaining, but then I just felt like it was too much at times. 75 to 80% of the movie is car chase scenes. It's just non-stop swooping drone shots of car chasing scenes with cars flying around everywhere and then yelling at each other, and it just felt so like over the top to the point where it's a little obnoxious, you know? Next we have a new film that just came out on Amazon Prime called Emergency, and this is a comedy satire. Even though I'm not gonna lie, I didn't find it to be the most comedic, but I guess I thought it would be funnier. I did really enjoy it though, and it kind of has to do with the movie's based around these guys who are in college. They find a drunk girl passed out inside their house, and they start trying to figure out what they're gonna do with her, because they can't call the cops because it's gonna look suspicious, like that there's this girl just in their house and she's underage, and they think, you know, let's take her to the hospital, but a whole ordeal comes from it. And I actually found this movie very good. It deals with social issues, and there's definitely that in it, but I really thought it was pretty well done for, again, I don't think it's super funny. I don't find it to be like as comedic as I think they made it seem. Thought it was really good and worth watching. Next is Marry Me, and this is a romance with Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson that just came out on Redbox. So I'm not a big romance film person, but this was like horrible. It was so dumb to me. I felt like it was unoriginal. We've seen this before where there's this like superstar artist character who's famous, and then there's this like average person who gets involved with them. This is nothing new. It's just Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson are the characters playing that concept out. And I did not feel any chemistry between J-Lo and Owen Wilson at all. Like, I did not believe in the romance at all. I did not like Jennifer Lopez in this movie. I felt like she was unbelievable. Like, I didn't believe it, her character. Overall, I just found it kind of dumb. I didn't care for the romance. I hate that Marry Me song in the movie. Thought it was not good. I know I'm kind of hard to please with romance films, but I know when I find a good one, and this is not it. So, curious to know if you liked Marry Me. Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna take a break from movies to talk about my favorite, well, basically the best thing I saw all month. And it's Love on the Spectrum, but the US version that just came out on Netflix. If you've seen my videos before, you know I've talked about Love on the Spectrum and how much I love that show. It is my favorite, well, it is the best, in my opinion, dating show that's ever existed on TV. It's a dating show for men and women who are on the spectrum of autism, and it is the most genuine, sweet experience to watch these very pure-hearted individuals try to find love. It's one of those shows that makes me smile like at least 80% of the time, and then there's those 20% moments where I'm just, makes you a little emotional. Obviously it can be sad sometimes because there's a lot of struggles to it, and you do watch them fail or not succeed. I can understand why not everybody would want to get emotional and watch it, but I think that it is so worth watching just because it's just so pure. Such a heartwarming experience to watch this show, and I just personally feel like everybody should watch it. Speaking of shows, we are all caught up with Better Call Saul. I believe it was the last video that I made where I started talking about Better Call Saul, because we started from the beginning. We were never watching it the whole way until now. And we finally caught up. We binge watched all the seasons. I believe we're on season 5.5, I guess. There's still a set of episodes left to air. and then we're gonna be done with the show, which is kind of sad because I've really gotten into it. We only started watching it because a friend of ours said that it's better than Breaking Bad, and I will say it is definitely not better than Breaking Bad, my opinion. But the first 2 seasons are kind of but the last 3 seasons got really good, Breaking Bad level good. But the only reason why I think Breaking Bad is better is because it starts being good from the beginning. I don't know. Mike is my favorite character. I've grown to love Kim Wexler. I love even Nacho's character. And the whole experience of watching Better Call Saul has just made me want to go ahead and rewatch Breaking Bad all over again. I love everything. I mean, Breaking Bad is my favorite show ever, so Better Call Saul definitely comes close to it, and I give it a lot of credit. It is really good. And if you ever started watching the first season or 2 and kind of started to feel like it wasn't worth watching, all I can say is if you stick it out, it gets really good. I wanted to mention another really random Netflix show we started watching. It's called Bullshit, and it's a game show that is highly entertaining. It kind of reminds me of Is It Cake, where it's just like a dumb, entertaining, mindless fun type of show. We just put it on one night just to see, and then ended up actually watching it for a good amount of time. It actually is kind of a fun time. Also, Obi-Wan just came out on Disney Plus, and I can't say anything because I've only seen 1 episode. No, I've seen 2. And next movie I want to talk about is Moonfall. This is a 2022 sci-fi adventure that we rented on Redbox currently because it was just in theaters. It has Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson. It even has John Bradley from Game of Thrones. He was also in the movie Marry Me, so I thought that was interesting. This is basically a space movie, but also like a catastrophe, disaster movie. There was elements of it that reminded me of Don't Look Up on Netflix, but also it's a space movie, so basically a mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit, and they have to fix it or the world's gonna end. As much as I liked the concept of all that, the ending is so stupid that I felt like it made the whole movie suck. I just felt like overall the movie could have been better, and I wasn't really impressed. So next up we have The Lost City. This is an action adventure film that is currently on Paramount Plus, and it has Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and even Brad Pitt for a little bit, very short bit, but he is in the movie, and he's probably my favorite character in the whole movie. And Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. Also, Oscar Nunez is in this film, and he is from The Office. And also he was in this other Sandra Bullock film called The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds, and he was like this hilarious character in that movie, and he is again in this film being another hilarious character, so I did like him a lot in this film. I thought he was funny. And overall, all I can say is that this film is silly and kind of dumb, but kind of enjoyable, I think. Not anything I'm gonna remember about in a few months or something that stands out above the rest, but like a very basic, fun, entertaining, but dumb and silly movie, if that makes any sense. It's fine. Next we have Uncharted, a 2022 action adventure with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. This is an Indiana Jones wannabe movie, basically. And it was directed by the same director who made Zombieland, so I was really expecting better because I love Zombieland. And honestly, this was such a boring movie. I could not have cared less about anything that was going on. Maybe I'm just also not super into Indiana Jones movies, but it's just like I lost track of what was going on, and I didn't care. Again, in one of those films that just has too much going on, and there's like all these things keep happening and there's no breaks. It's just constant, like, I don't know. I just didn't care about it. I didn't like it at all. Okay, the next film I want to talk about is by far, like, every month there has to be like at least one film that I don't suggest for everyone. It's one of those like oddball films that's definitely like not normal, and this is that one. It's called We're All Going to the World's Fair, and this is it's considered a horror drama, although I would argue about the horror part, but I'll get there. It's on Amazon Prime, but we did have to pay, I believe it was $4 to watch it because it's not free anywhere. It is definitely the weirdest film on this list. It is not for everyone. and it's basically about a girl who plays this role-playing game on the internet. It's like a horror role-playing game where you say that you're going to be part of the World's Fair, or you're going to the World's Fair, and then you start to change, like your body, and you start to change, and you start to film yourself over the next series of weeks, showing yourself changing. But it is a role-playing game, meaning that it's not real, but she is taking it as reality and is starting to actually believe that she is changing for the worse, becoming like a bad person. And the film is actually very interesting. I kind of enjoyed it, although it was very slow and weird, and some could maybe even argue boring. I was into it, but I know like Jeremy thought it was really boring, so it's definitely not for everyone. I hated the ending, and that's the only reason why I can't suggest it as much as I would like to suggest it, but I will suggest it if you are someone who enjoys odd, strange experiences of a film. A lot of the times it's being filmed in the perspective of like a laptop, so it's one of those. It has some really long, drawn out scenes that make you very uncomfortable, and it's very awkward, and there's not a lot of horror in it. So I was expecting it to be scary, and there were some scary aspects, but there was nothing really truly horrific, and I think I was disappointed in that sense. But if you go into that, if you decide to watch this film, go into it knowing it's not really a horror, it's more like an experience, and it's gonna be a weird one, but the ending's gonna suck. That's all I'm saying. Next we have The Weekend Away, and this is a Netflix thriller. I think it came out like maybe, I don't know, maybe it was like 2 months ago or something, and I finally just decided to put it on one night. It's about a girl who's on a girls trip to Croatia when her best friend disappears, and she doesn't know who to trust because she's in a foreign country. It's not really very original. I've seen many films doing the exact same thing. At the same time, I'll give it that it's decent entertainment. It is fine. It's watchable, and if you like thrillers and movies where a girl's trying to figure out the whole time what's going on, then I guess it's fine. Okay, so the next film is the best film I saw this whole month. Well, outside of Doctor Strange. I really did enjoy Doctor Strange, but this is an old film that was just such a fun time. It's called Pennies from Heaven. It is a 1981 musical romance. Coco is barking. It is a 1981 musical romance on HBO Max. It stars Steve Martin, and he looks like a baby in this film. He is so young. And also Christopher Walken, who also looks like a kid in this film. And they are literally tap dancing, and if you want to see just Steve Martin and Christopher Walken young tap dancing and lip syncing, then this is the film for you. It is considered a musical, but they are lip syncing the whole time to 1920s, 1930s music. So that's the cool part about it, is that it does have musical elements. It is doing musical numbers, there's tap dancing and all that, and like the whole show of a musical, but they're lip syncing the whole time, which I thought was really interesting. I thought it was a very original, fun idea for a film. Pennies from Heaven, highly recommend. 1981. Now, speaking of old films, we did also watch The Three Caballeros on Disney Plus from 1944, so let's go even older. This stars Donald, Panchito, and Jose. I know I had seen this film when I was a kid, but it had been so long that I decided to just watch it to see what it was like again. I forgot totally what the film involved. It is a lot of fun. It has a lot of music and dances. It's a lot of South American songs and dances and a lot of birds. Like the whole beginning of the film is about different birds. Then it goes into like Brazil, and then it goes into like Mexico, and it is pretty random, I think. But it's cool because it was the first film of Disney that ever attempted to mix live action and animation together. And if you look at it now, you realize how, I guess, bad it was compared to the ones of today, like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. But it's just, you can appreciate it for knowing that it was the first one it was the first one they ever did. Why not? The Caballeros. Speaking of Disney films, we ended up watching a lot of Disney films for some reason this month. Again, I was, you know, stuck at home and got inspired to watch some Disney films that I hadn't seen in a long time. Hercules, 1997. I love Megara and I love the Muses, and I really do hope that the rumor, or if it's not a rumor, I don't know, about the fact that they're gonna make a live adaptation about it, I really hope that's true because I really want to see that happen. Love the music of Hercules. Tarzan, 1999. Gotta love Phil Collins. It's another classic. A Goofy movie, hadn't seen that one in a long time. It's a 1995 film. Made us all have a crush on Roxanne and Powerline. The only part of the movie that really stuck out to me that I remembered from when I was a kid was the whole like stand out above the crowd. That was the one part. And the Leaning Tower of Pisa for some reason. Those are the only two things I remembered from the film from when I was a kid. So it was kind of fun watching it again. And the Aristocats. This is the oldest one of the films, 1970. Just everything about the dynamic between the little three kittens. Marie is my favorite. Duchess and Thomas O'Malley, and like the Do Re Mi song with the piano, and they're just good times to be had. Next is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This is on Netflix. It is a comedy romance from 2008 featuring Jason Segel and Kristen Bell, and it has Mila Kunis and Russell Brand, Paul Rudd, Jonah Hill. Just a ton of really great people in this film. I've probably rewatched this film at least 5 times by now. I love this movie so much. I loved it back when it first came out in 2008 and saw it in theaters. And then I've been rewatching it over the years. I love this film. To me, it is just such a fun, silly comedy romance. It made me fall in love with Jason Segel. There's a whole scene in the movie with the Dracula musical. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. Paul Rudd's character is so funny. Like it's a great film. And I know it's pretty popular and I'm sure you've seen it, but if you haven't seen it, please go on Netflix and watch Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It is one of my favorite movies. Speaking of comedy, we did watch one stand-up this month, and it is Christina Pazsitzky, Mom Jeans. 2022 Netflix comedy stand-up special. And this is not for everyone. I think stand-up in general is not for everyone in the sense that you have to find the comedian that works with you. Not every comedian is your type of comedy. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna try this, tread lightly. She can be highly inappropriate and offensive. It is a lot about parenthood. I think it's her best stand-up yet, honestly. Love Christina Pazsitzky because she has a podcast with her husband, Tom Segura, which we also love and have seen them live. And it's called Your Mom's House. So if you're familiar with that at all, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts, but that special is pretty intense. And if you like inappropriate comedy that takes it too far, but in the best way possible, you might like it. The last thing I want to bring up is Laguna Beach and The Hills. 2 shows that I used to watch back in the day when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old on MTV. I was on Paramount Plus and I saw that they had Laguna Beach and The Hills, and I just went on a binge and started watching all the episodes. I'm not even done. I'm still going. I'm on season 3 right now and there's 6. So I'm so into this right now. It is just taking me back to the days of MTV and the silly reality shows of MTV. And I love everything about the whole drama between Elsie and Kristen and Steven. And then in The Hills now, it's all about Heidi and Lauren and like this Spencer, and I'm into it. I'm into it, and I want to know if you're into it and if you've ever binge watched this before, or if you remember watching it from back in the day when it came out. Were you ever a fan? All the music also on the show is so nostalgic for me. It's all the music that I used to love from the Y2K era, and it makes you want to go to the beach. I feel like it's the perfect summer show because it just makes you want to go to the beach. So yeah, that is everything I saw in the month of May. I'm losing track of time. Let me know what you're looking forward to watching in the month of June. Are you watching Stranger Things, Obi-Wan? Did you see Doctor Strange? Are you into Laguna Beach? Let me know all of it in the comments below, and maybe you can give me some suggestions or recommendations for me to watch in June. Toodaloo!